Hello everyone and welcome to the Kiki London YouTube channel. My name's Amanda and in today's video we are going to be doing a summer gel polish nail art design, as it's been really fun to get those bright shades out now that we finally have some warm weather here in the UK. Now the base colour I'm going to be using in today's design is the gorgeous Nude Delight. I really love this one paired with brighter shades. I feel as though although it's a little bit darker and has quite a warm tone to it, it works really nice with the bright shades. So I'm going to apply this in two coats. The first coat of this does look a little bit sheer and quite natural, so it's nice if you don't want a full-on pigmented shade, you could just use one coat of this. But once you do come in and add that second coat of colour, it does get a lot more pigmentation coming through it, but it does still have quite a nice natural look to it as well. And I find this suits quite a lot of skin tones nicely as well. So I'm going to apply two thin coats of this, curing each coat for 30 seconds. Of course, if you was working on yourself or a client, you would do all of your prep and base before coming in with your shades. Then these are the colours I've picked for today's design. So we've got Party Punch, which is a really gorgeous coral pink shade. Then we've got Zesty Blue. Now Zesty Blue does come up a little bit more blue on camera than what it does in real life. It's got a little bit of a green tint to it. Then we have the new Canary Yellow, which is a gorgeous soft yellow, and I went for Watermelon Sugar for a really nice bright pink. We're going to also be using Coconut and the Gold Metallic gel paints for our details in this set. So I really wanted to add on some little cutesy flowers and some gold metallic effects as well, so we'll be using both of those. And as always, I will be using my striped liner brush for a lot of the nail art in this design. So on to the first design, I'm actually going to paint on a little wiggly edge around the edge of the nail using Coconut. Now this isn't going to stay white, we're actually going to pop our colours over the top of this. But the reason why I did it in white first is so that by doing it all in the one colour, you can focus more on the shape that you want around the edges, and it's going to make it a little bit easier when it comes to putting those four colors down around the edge of the nail, because you've got a guide to work on top of. White underneath your colors as well does always make them pop a little bit more as well. And what is going to help us is not need to do two coats of each of the colors that we're going to be using over the top of Coconut. You'll see what I mean once we get to that part of the video. But basically what I've done is just created a wriggly curvaceous frame around that Nude Delight. We're then going to pop this in to cure for 30 seconds so that we can work directly on top of it. Now before we do that, I'm just going to pop all four of those shades down onto my palette so you can see the colours a little bit more. So as I said, Party Punch is a really gorgeous coral shade. I love this one for summer, and I did faff about for today's video picking out the colours that I was going to use, because I really wanted to use some different ones, and I wanted to use some colours that kind of had a little bit of a clash or a contrast to them so that the set was really fun. So let me know what you think of these four colors together in the comments below. So now I've got them all on my palette, I'm going to start painting them on, and I originally was going to blend them together, but I decided instead of doing that to kind of just let the colors meet. So we're going to start off with the Party Punch, and I'm just painting that down. And then as you can see, rather than cutting it off in a straight line, I've kind of done a curvy line. And then we're going to do exactly the same. We're going to come in and follow that line with Zesty Blue, and then make sure that ends with a bit of a curved line as well. So the colours don't necessarily blend or run into each other, but there's not a harsh line between each shade. I'm not curing each shade as I go, because I do kind of want them to melt together a little bit, but I'm not worrying about blending them or anything like that. If you wanted to blend them together, you certainly could, and I would recommend keeping with your striped liner brush to do that. But because all four shades were quite different, I weren't quite sure how it would look blending them together, because it would create quite a few different transitional shades in between each color. So I'm just literally curving off the line where the color ends and then coming in with the next color. And I actually really loved how all four of these colors work together, and you can see what I mean by working over the top of a white base. You're going to get the pigmentation show up of the color a little bit more, and it's going to look nice and even though you've only done it in one coat rather than the two. A lot of the Kiki London colors are super pigmented, so when you're using them for nail art, you will find that you only need one coat anyway. So once we've cured that, I'm going to add on some of the gold metallic nail art gel paint to my palette and run my stripe liner brush through this. Now with the nail art paints, they are super pigmented. You definitely only need one coat of this, but they have a really thin consistency, so they're really easy to hand paint with. I find them a lot easier to hand paint with than gel polish, especially if you're getting super thin lines. So what we're doing here is we're going around that curvy shape that we created with the coconut and finishing it off with this beautiful metallic gold edging, and I really loved how this looked. The gold metallic paints do still only require a 30-second cure, so we pop that into cure, and then going back with our coconut, we're going to create some simple cute dotting tool flowers. So for this I am using a large end dotting tool. This is an old one that I've had in my kit for ages, but I keep it because I find the larger end on this one perfect for doing any kind of dotted flowers. So I start off with a center circle and then just dot 5 or 6 circles around that center circle to create a flower shape, popping that into cure for 30 seconds, and then I always like to do a center for the flower in a different color. So for this design I'm going to come back in with the gold metallic paint and just dot on another circle right in the center, and it just gives a really cutesy look to those flowers. I felt as though these flowers reminded me of, do you remember the Marc Jacobs Daisy perfume? They kind of give me that vibe for some reason. Anyway, to top coat this now, we're going to use the crystal top coat. For this set, we are going to do a bit of a matte and a glossy combo, but this now is going to be glossy. So I'm going to use the new crystal top coat because the shine on this one is absolutely amazing, and it really took those colors up another notch with their brightness. This is the finished result anyway, so we're going to move on to the second design. Already done the 2 coats of Nude Delight for our base, and on this design I wanted to focus on using that gorgeous Zesty Blue and the Party Punch together. So I'm going to come in and create like a cut off section of the nail with the Zesty Blue. Like I said at the start, this one does come up a little bit more blue on camera. It does look a little bit more turquoise in real life, but I struggled to get the camera to pick that up. But it is such a gorgeous shade for summer. The picture I've added at the end of the set does show this color a little bit more on the green side like it would in real life. But yeah, it's a gorgeous shade for summer. It's got a really tropical holiday vibe to it, and I felt as though it paired up with the Party Punch beautifully. I do love a blue and orange combo, but where this has the coral look to the orange, they just paired absolutely beautifully. And again, against that Nude Delight background, I really loved it as well. So we've cut out 2 sections of the nail with those 2 colors, and then we're going to pop those into cure for 30 seconds. Because of how pigmented they looked, I did only do the 1 coat, but depending on how you've worked with them, if you wanted to do 2 super thin coats, you could. Now this now I want to have a bit of a matte and a glossy layered effect. So what I'm going to do is come in and draw on some leaves with coconut. So I'm loading up my stripe liner brush, just done a simple line coming across the nail, mainly covering that Nude Delight area. I don't want to cover up too much of the colours. And then we're just going to paint on some simple leaves because I thought this would match the flowers well. And then I'm going to pop this in to cure for 30 seconds. And then once we've cured the white flowers, I'm going to matte top coat. So I'm going to take the Kiki London No White matte top coat, and I'm going to matte top coat the entire nail. And then we're going to come over the top and layer on the gold metallic leaves, but we're going to keep those glossy. And I really loved how it gave off a bit of an embossed look. I really loved the effect. I do love mixing matte and glossy nails in a set because I just feel as though the matte gives you a bit of a softer finish, but then it helps make your glossy nails pop. So over the top I'm going to layer on those gold leaves, and I'm going to kind of come across the white one because I wanted to sort of also add in a bit of like a shadowed effect. So painting them on exactly the same as before, coming across, doing our branch with a little bit of just a little flick with the brush, letting the brush do a lot of the work for you. You really don't need to add a lot of product to the brush. I like to go in with a little bit at a time and just keep getting a little bit more rather than taking too much product on my brush and then having to chase it around the nail and control it on the nail. So once we'd finished doing that leaf, we've popped that in to cure for 30 seconds, and then I am going to still top coat over the top of it just because I want it to be fully sealed in. If I was wearing these, I wouldn't want to have any issues with the gold gel chipping off. But then I also like the fact that it makes it pop a little bit more against that matte base and give off that raised embossed 3D effect. So I'm just coming directly over the top with the crystal top coat, and because the crystal top coat is slightly thicker than the no wipe top coat, it helps you give that embossed look. But if you wanted more of a 3D effect, if you wanted to look even more raised, you could come over the top with the no wipe rubber top coat. I really loved how that now turned out. On to the third now in this design, I'm actually going to start off with the flowers in this one. This design you could do either way round. You could do your coloured swirls first, or you could do your flowers first. But I wanted to make sure that I got enough flowers on the nail and that they weren't going to be covered up or taken over by the swirls. So we're doing that same simple dotting tool flower technique, always making sure that you don't add too much gel polish to your dotting tool. The more you add, the larger those flowers are going to be effectively. A good way to test it, as I like to put my dotting tool into the gel polish and then I'll just dot it out on an old tip or a piece of paper, something like that, to see the size of the dot that you're going to get. We're going to cure those little flowers and then come in and do the metallic gold centers for them. Again, I feel as though that gives off this kind of embossed raised 3D effect, and I really liked it for this set of nails. Once we've cured those, we're going to come in and just do some simple swirls coming down the center of the nail, just to pull in all four of those colors. Because my thought process for this now is I wanted the two end nails, so what would be the pointer and the little finger, to include all four colors, and then the ring and the middle finger to just have two of each shade. Because that way I feel as though you're getting a lot of colors in a set, but without all of the nails looking too overwhelming. And then a lot of the time when I do a design like this on myself, I'll keep the thumb a little bit more simple. So for this design, you could easily just do the thumb with, say, something like a Nude Delight base and a French tip, maybe even just a gold metallic French tip and not adding in any color. But because we're just doing the four nails in this design, that was how I pictured it, with two of the nails having all four shades and then two of the nails just having two of each shade, and it kind of gives you an idea of what colors to pair up and things like that as well. So what I'm doing here is, when we're painting on those stripes, you can see I'm loading up my brush, wiping off a little bit of excess, just taking a small amount at a time and just simply letting the brush do the work for me and guiding it across the nail. And then what I did do was flash cure each colour for 10 seconds in the Kiki London lamp, so that I didn't have to worry about smudging, or if I made any mistakes, I could wipe those mistakes off without wiping off the entire swirl. So flash curing each shade for 10 seconds, and then once we'd finished that Zesty Blue, I come in and fully cured for 30 seconds. And then we are going to crystal top coat this now, because we're leaving this one glossy, and then the next now is going to have that matte and glossy combo again. I really loved how cute this one turned out. I love anything swirly, and adding in those flowers just give it a really cutesy vibe. So on this now, I had already done 2 coats of Nude Delight, because I did have a different design in mind for this one, but I changed my mind last minute. So if you was doing this look, you wouldn't necessarily need to have your 2 coats of Nude Delight down before you do your ombre. You would just have your base coat and then come in with all 3 of your colors. So we're going to be doing a 3 color ombre between Nude Delight, Canary Yellow and the Watermelon Sugar. And I have to say, Watermelon Sugar and Canary Yellow made the most beautiful sunset style ombre. So what I'm going to do is start off by blending Nude Delight and Canary Yellow together. Now, your first coat of your ombre, do not stress if it doesn't look perfect. You can perfect your blend on the second coat when that pigmentation is coming through a little bit more. But I'm just taking my time to blend Nude Delight and Canary Yellow into each other. And because these are both warm shades, they actually blended really effortlessly. And then we're going to blend Canary Yellow and Watermelon Sugar into each other. Now, this is a little bit of a harder blend, because obviously Watermelon Sugar is quite bright compared to the Canary Yellow, but just work with it. Don't over blend it because it's only the first coat, and use nice gentle light strokes with your brush. So then when it comes in to adding on your second coat, we're going to go in, apply all those colors exactly the same as before over that first coat of color, and we'll talk a little bit more on blending on this now as well, on this coat, sorry. So keeping those colours nice and thin, you don't want to apply your gel polish too thickly, and I like to push each colour up against the previous one. Then we're going to take that ombre brush and just going backwards and forwards with quite gentle light strokes. We don't want to pull the product around too much, and we don't want to pull too much of that product off, but we're using nice gentle light strokes. I like to blend out the harsh line where the two colours meet, and then go in and blend that transitional shade that you've created into each of the colour. And then always making sure that you're cleaning off your brush on a little bit of alcohol as well, just so you're not taking one colour into another or muddying up your ombre too much. And you'll see when my brush goes out of shot, I'm usually just wiping it off on a little alcohol pad to keep it clean. Now, when you're working on your second coat of your ombre, any areas that look a little bit patchy, that's when you come in and blend a little bit more. And on my second coat, I'll take a lot more time to blend those colours together until I'm happy with it. And I always find it a lot easier doing it this way, just not stressing about the blend as such on the first coat, and then taking a little bit more time on that second coat. You will at times look like you've got brush strokes in your ombre, so just leave it to settle for a few seconds before you pop it into cure, and then you'll see that the product self levels, those brush strokes self level out, and you get a lot softer blend. And then when you come in and top coat, this will also soften out what the brush strokes look like as well. So I did decide to do this layer matte, so we've matte top coated, and this just gives me pure sunset vibes. I loved how this looked matte. So over the top of that matte top coat, we're going to come in and draw on some gold leaves and then some little white flowers, but we're going to top coat the leaves and the flowers so that they are glossy over that matte base, and I really love how the layered look that gives off. So again, with the striped liner brush, just taking a small amount of product at a time, a little bit really goes a long way when you're hand painting, especially with the nail art gel paints. If you haven't checked these out, then please do. They are available in 3 shades. So we've got the gold, which I'm using here. There is also a silver and a rose as well. And the rose gold is a really pretty pinky gold. So there's a couple ones to choose from, and hopefully it's a product that's going to get added to as well, because I really do love working with these. I struggle with hand painting, as I've mentioned in previous videos, but due to the consistency of these, they do make it a lot easier. So if you're wanting to get into hand painting, I definitely would recommend grabbing one of these to practice with. Gold and silver especially I find quite popular. Personally, I tend to reach for gold more than I do silver, but they're really popular staple shades to have in your kit. So once we've drawn on those flowers with our striped liner brush, I'm going to switch to the dotting tool and do a couple of little flowers. I'm using a smaller end here as well, because I didn't want to cover up too much of the ombre. I wanted you to still be able to see those colours coming through, but still adding on just a couple little flowers to keep with the theme for the set. We're going to pop this in to cure for 30 seconds, and then very quickly I'm also going to add on the little gold dots for the centre of the flowers as well, because I wanted to make sure they matched the previous one. And then we're going to pop that in to cure again for 30 seconds. And then because we're only top coating a section of the nail, I'm just going to use that top coat that's on my palette, and I'm going to start off just using the dotting tool to go over those flowers. Because they were created with the dotting tool, this is the easiest way to top coat them. When you are top coating just a certain area of the nail, of course you want to be careful that you keep it directly on top of what you want to be glossy, because it is going to show up over the matte effect underneath. So I always like to use either the striped liner brush or the detail brush to do this. And we then pop that into cure, and this is the finished result. So these were really fun, really bright and colourful. I know they're not minimalist, they're right at the end, and minimalist is very trendy right now, but I really love these fun nail art designs. If you do have any designs or techniques you would like to see, please do let me know in the comments below. If you did enjoy today's video, please do give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please hit that subscription button. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Lots of love. Take care. Bye bye.